Aragash buried his axes into the haunch of the chimera that Garn had pinned down. He was then knocked onto his backside by the beast's tail. Garn was shoved away by the chimera. The beast pounced on Aragash, who kept the jaws from clamping down on his face with his hands and strength. The orc struggled against the beast's raw power. He could feel the saliva drip down on his face and chest. The smell of rotten flesh wafted down from hot breaths of the chimera that was on top of him. "I thought you said they were solitary," Silva shouted to Salinas as she readied her bow to shoot at the chimera that Aragash had pinned. Salinas thrust his sword at the scarred chimera with his good arm, whilst Rourke tried to do the same with a spear. "Normally, they are. This is an unnatural behavior." Kell swung his hammer at the juvenile chimera's head, but the beast ducked and rammed its head against the Shoten's stomach. Ragnir let out a shout and stabbed the beast with his sword, with Bastilan at the same time, but both were deflected by the chimera's agile tail. Kell threw several punches at the chimera's head to distract it from the downed Ragnir, before grabbing it from behind. The elephant man tried to choke the beast out, despite its frantic clawing at his arms and armor. Blood dripped from Kell's arms as he took the brunt of the chimera's attacks. The only thing he could do was hold on. Bastilan helped Ragnir up, and checked if he was all right. Silva and Sael fired arrows at the chimera that downed Aragash, burning its ire as it looked up at the elves and roared angrily. Aragash kicked the beast away before Garn finally rammed it into the tree. A louder roar was heard as a much larger beast ran past the cart and snarled at the Fellowship. With muscles rippling beneath its tawny fur, the manticore charged into view, its massive form casting a daunting shadow over the Fellowship. Bristling with menace, its quilled mane bristled and crackled with energy, each sharp spine a testament to its lethal capabilities. And atop its head, a bony structure jutted out, resembling the visage of a monkey's face, twisted into a fearsome grimace. This was its method to lure prey. A fake face, made of bone and cartilage, that was now flush red with blood as the beast roared once again. With eyes ablaze with primal fury, the manticore snarled and bared its razor-sharp teeth, saliva dripping from its jaws in anticipation of the fray. Its prehensile tail lashed behind it, its spiked tip poised to strike with deadly accuracy. As it locked eyes with the stunned adventurers, a chilling realization dawned. They were not merely facing a beast, but a living embodiment of raw power and untamed aggression. In a world where trolls, ogres, and dragons exist, it can be hard to understand one's role in the great song of life. Though for some beings, the roles are easier to understand. The Parthines are a diverse family that is one of the oldest species in recorded history, rivaled by the giants and dragons who called Gavilia home long before the appearance of men and elves. They seem to have traits of both mammals and reptiles, yet are very distinct from either group. What we do know about the Parthines at this current point in time is that they are extremely diverse in terms of diet, range, and appearance on the continent, and there are many more relatives residing within far reaches of this world. Our Farseeker field teams were able to note down the current ecological niches and traits of the Parthene family, with them even getting their hands on some promising skeletal specimens and fossils of ancestors long since passed. Some of the Parthenes take on minor roles in the ecosystem, either acting as scavengers or herbivores that get preyed upon by larger predators, whilst others are unsuccessful predators with a keen intellect and traits that put them on par with even the likes of trolls. In regards to ancestry, we were able to determine that the Parthene family that we see today share a common ancestor, who was smaller in stature and was about the size of the now extinct Ursus bears, with only a partially preserved skull, vertebrae, and a single intact paw fossil. We can determine that this Parthene was a hunter of small game, like antelope and small horses, with saber teeth to aid in taking down their prey. It seems these traits were passed down to their modern-day relatives. As you can see in the skulls of at least 3 specimens, we can see that pronounced canines and robust skulls were a preferred trait in the species, most prominently seen in wargs. Our field team were also able to find some really well-preserved cave paintings that show the different members of the Parthines in various acts like hunting, running, or even being preyed upon. With vastly different lifestyles, the Parthines have claimed large tracts of territory on the continent, which is a main reason why research updates were slow. And with knowledge from Orcish and Centerling smiths, we have been hard at work of putting the resources of these creatures to good use, both in and outside the battlefield. Before we continue, allow me to add a bit of an addendum or note in regards to 3 of the animals in this discussion. You will hear me refer to 3 of these species as false drakes, and that is not by accident. Upon initial encounter by the ancients past, by the elves' reckoning, there was a belief that the false drakes were related to drakes and dragons due to similar traits and abilities. But thanks to discoveries and fossil evidence done by the Istrian and Kestari scholars, they have determined that the false drakes are more related to manticores and wargs, rather than true drakes like the Chimeran and mountain drake. However, the drake name stuck, thus the title of false drake has been used more commonly nowadays. With all the preamble out of the way, let me introduce you to the Parthene family, from the smallest member to the largest character. The small yet agile, false water drake, the stocky, false rock drake, the pesky, false wood drake, the lithe chimera, powerful warg, and the ferocious manticore. As per usual, we will talk about each animal and discuss their lifestyles, diets, and specific traits, but not go into full depth on each one of them, as that will be covered in their respective field entries. Claiming the riverways, coasts, and lakes of the continent are the false water drake. They have the most expansive dispersal of all of the Parthines, as for them, where there is a waterway, there is a path. Upon first sight, you could be forgiven for believing the false water drake for being a blue relative of otters, or even the Bahamut, but in reality, they are more closely related to wargs than either of those animals. It should be noted that they can hold their breaths for close to an hour when active, and perhaps even longer if they slow down their heart rate. With streamlined bodies and dense bones, false water drakes will take advantage of their coloring to either ambush prey or avoid confrontation for most predators. Their forearms are longer than their hind legs, as their method of swimming relies on them paddling with those front limbs and using their powerful tail to push through the water and through any currents that would occur. The way their skull is structured allows the drake a surprisingly powerful bite, and paired with their serrated teeth guarantees that any prey that enters their maw will have very little chance of escaping. There have been moments where Bahamut mothers or females mistake a drake for one of their kin, which leads to a humorous moment where the poor drake is scared senseless during the encounter, and the Bahamut thoroughly confused. There are reports that when a particularly nasty storm will occur, that entire colonies of false water drakes will huddle together under the water. They'll bite each other's tails and grip onto the bottom of the lake, or whatever river they decide to reside in, and they'll hold on for dear life till the worst of the storm passes. Their resemblance to Bahamut Minor, or Bahamut in general, has led to some amusing interactions between the hippos, who will oddly allow them close to their young, though their blue coloration would be noticed, and the males will be extremely suspicious. The diet of the false water drake is both diverse and simple, with fish, crustaceans, and mollusks being staple foods being on the menu, whilst occasionally they will feast upon fruits, nuts, and tubers should they encounter any. They are very social and gregarious animals, with colonies numbering in well over 50 individuals. It is interesting to note that they do act in a manner akin to most cetaceans, where they will hunt schools of fish together to guarantee that everyone has a full stomach. Though, when spawning season comes, they can afford to be a tad lazy. False water drakes are a common sight at fishing villages or ports, possibly in hopes of getting fat off of the catch from fishermen. In fact, there is one story of one fisherman who encountered a very obese individual who was closer in size to a seal than a normal drake. Despite their respectable size, false stone drakes make do with their adaptations as mountain-dwelling herbivores with a respectable range from the Elsaurian peaks, Dragon's Tail Range, to the evergreen mountains of the Berengen. This animal had to be hardy and built sturdily to handle the harsh conditions and predators of the mountain climbs during most seasons. During harsh winters, they opt to hibernate and wait for more plentiful times. Their diet consists entirely of greens, unattended eggs, and moss. Their skeletons are a reflection of the environment they have taken up residence within. Armored plating has been very effective in fending off most attacks. Powerful limbs to carry its body up and down steep slopes, and a thick tail ending with a club head will make most smaller predators think twice before tempting fate. It is refreshing to report that false stone drakes are passive creatures and will rarely attack or drive off humans or dwarves near their small family groups unless pressed. Being the size of a pony, the false stone drake has a list of predators that will easily overpower them and make them a very welcome and filling snack. Being a staple food of mountain trolls, it is not uncommon to find the den of said troll littered with the bones and discarded shells of the poor drake, having dispatched them with the use of their powerful jaws. Ogres will use their weapons and brute strength to make short work of the false stone drake. The Tarask and Ichneumon will crush and squish them if inclined. And avian predators like the thunderbirds or rocks have figured out that it was best to grab and pick up a drake by the back of plating or tail, fly to great heights, and simply drop the unfortunate beast to let gravity do the hard work. It seems the Stone Age peoples also recorded such events on their cave paintings. On a less morbid note, the Farscarv have begun breeding these animals, and are in the process of attempting to domesticate stone drakes to use as livestock or even beasts of burden for tilling the fields. There are very few biomes where the presence of a false wood drake are not felt. Between the size of an Astrian mastiff and a lion, the false wood drake is a creature of large stomach and little brain. They are more than happy to steal a snack from an unwary adventurer before taking to the safety of a tree to avoid the consequences. The false wood drakes are known within Gavilia proper, with healthy populations blooming wherever there are large quantities of food and water, and they are well built to do so, with muscular limbs, a light build, strong bites, and an intellect comparable to that of a bear, false wood drakes are generalists that have made it very clear to the ecosystems they reside within they are not going anywhere anytime soon. When frightened or threatened, a wood drake will puff themselves up and emit a low growl, even giving off a musky scent to drive off predators and threats. Though if pressed, they will choose flight rather than fight, scuttling away to safe places like caves or trees to wait for the threat to pass. This is amusing, as one would think they would fight given their size. With their strong stomach acids, one is not surprised at all at the diversity of the diet of the false wood drake. With fruits, vegetables, invertebrates, small animals, birds, and the deceased being key to their success. This has also gotten them in trouble with other animals and with civilizations in general, as they will raid graveyards for easy food, or rummage through the rubbish, offal, and muck that are common where large gatherings of people are. There are many recorded cases of hunters who specialize in the false wood drakes, and will bring home a large quantity of their skins and meat to feed their families, yet the population thrives despite these cullings. Reports of them fighting with hyenas over corpses on the battlefield are common, though both parties will flee the second a Gavilian mountain bear or manticore enter the fray. It is, as I said, a creature with very big stomach and very little brain. False wood drakes are social animals, with groups of 10 or 12 traveling and scavenging together to find food and take down prey, or in some cases scope out some good meal opportunities. The Aspartians treat them as messengers of the gods, with melanistic individuals being seen as a good omen before a battlefield. It is not uncommon for Aspartian warriors to have a few as pets who will loyally protect and aid them in battle with the proper training. Though one does question the need when the Astrian Mastiff exists. The Castari and their Elsorian people view false wood drakes as pests and carry disease. The elves regard them as annoying yet vital members of the world song. There are few creatures that can instill fear in the hearts of men and elves with not their physical presence, but with the roars and calls they make. The one that comes to mind most commonly are the ferocious wargs, with records of their presence and conflict between the primitive elves being found on the cave walls that once provided shelter. Wargs garnered a reputation that is well earned. With powerful bodies and a cunning intellect, wargs conquered the toughest regions, save for the Vestraga Desert. From the jungles to the plains, the wargs will overwhelm their prey and rivals with their sheer strength, size, and numbers. The warg is about as large, if not larger, than a bear, with some variations in older individuals being bigger or smaller on record to fit certain niches. The skeletal structure of wargs have granted them skulls that could be used for ramming foes, crushing bone with powerful bites, and muscular necks to supplement this bite and carry their heavy heads. Their ribs and legs show that they are superb runners and trackers, able to chase after prey at a steady pace before tiring. Back home on Tor, we had a similar species of beast known as the tyrant wolf. Unfortunately, recent surveys have shown that they did not make it to this new world. Wargs are an example of a species convergently involving traits, or perhaps having traits that seem wolf or dog-like, though you can definitely see some pantherine traits in wargs as well. It is unknown as to why, or if there is some sort of symbiosis or mutual respect, but we have observed both wolf packs and warg packs coexisting and hunting their respective prey with very little conflict, with there even being a story of a lone warg who was adopted by a wolf pack in the wild. As expected, wargs are carnivores and will eat a vast variety of animals to supplement their diets, even preying upon primitive elves and the first men when they arrived in Gavilia, before they learned that it was best to leave well alone the races that could use magic. The wolves of Gavilia have even been observed taking down supermyth that were isolated from their herds, and in packs of 50 or so, it is no surprise how such a feat could be achieved. Cave paintings show that young and semi-adult wargs would hunt the great Gavilian aurochs when given a chance. There are a few creatures that are not on their list of prey. It bears emphasizing that wargs are very successful and effective hunters. Even legions of warriors are considered for their meals. In recent times after the exodus from Tor, Chieftain Morak Wolfpelt and his clan managed to fend off and kill half of a warg pack that had attacked them and their people. The rest were left alive, and through some means that have yet to ascertain, were able to tame the beasts and even use them as battle mounts. With one occasion of the hero, Arogash Earthborn, and his subadult warg Garn, fighting a pride of Chimera and a grown manticore with some difficulty. Now, normally, the Chimerans and wargs see no reason to compete, as they hunt different prey with very little overlap, but conflicts can and have arisen if conditions are met. Manticores are powerful beasts, but even they could find themselves hard-pressed if faced against a pack of bloodthirsty wargs. I recommend approaching them with great caution. Of all the creatures on this list, very few have a reputation of being prolific man-eaters like the Chimerans. One could be forgiven for believing both the manticore and chimera were two sister species within the same family. Yet, I must stress that they are the female and male morphs of the same species. It seems that evolutionary pressures have made them develop specific traits for each sex. Common traits are powerful jaws that could crush skulls, prehensile tails, blue mouths, head plates, pantherine bodies, and opposable thumbs to aid in pinning prey down, as well as venom. The chimera, the female, is the master of ambush, and are more arboreal compared to their manticore counterparts, having evolved a lifestyle akin to that of leopards and jaguars. Muscular tails aid them in traversing tree limbs up in the canopy, even acting as a fifth limb to grip onto branches to anchor themselves. Some subspecies of chimera have been noted for having webbing between their front and hind limbs to aid in gliding through the air like the giant Istrian squirrel. This also allows them to avoid detection from their prey. Their coloration aids in this, and even the greatest of ogres can be disabled by a well-placed bite to the back of the skull or neck, if a chimera is clever enough. The manticore, by contrast, is the hammer to her dagger. He is larger, more muscular, and far less subtle. His mane grows thick and heavy, a shield around the throat. It has evolved for brutal clashes with rivals, as they are solitary hunters that claim large ranges for themselves. This allows them to have access to nearby chimera, food, and water that they could use throughout their 20-year lifespan. The male of the species is able to contend against other large predators and take down prey as large as Boreodon. Their tails are muscular and still prehensile, yet stiffer and more used for combat compared to their chimera counterparts, as the tail ends with a sharpened spine. These spines can pierce through steel, so it is not unheard of for Estrian warriors to repurpose the spines for their spears. A manticore may have multiple female partners during mating season, though he will have a preferred female that he will remain with and aid in the raising of the cubs, a trait that we have seen in some birds. The Chimerans are primate specialists, with every part of their bodies serving some purpose to aid in their hunts in some form. Their fangs and tails are laced with a venom that is tailored to disrupt primate nervous systems, leaving their prey weak, uncoordinated, and abandoned by their troop. Humans, Iju, and other close relatives are especially vulnerable. The effects are agonizing, and often lethal. Orcs, curiously, resist much of the venom's potency, likely a result of the harsh conditions of Tor and having evolved there. Dwarves show partial resistance, though scholars still debate why. Elves, with their Fey-touch blood, suffer especially from the venom's anticoagulant properties. To a Chimeran, every primate on Aethium is food, and every road or trade route is a hunting ground. And this, perhaps, is why humans have always feared the Manticore and Chimera. Not just in the moment of attack, but deep in the marrow of their bones. For tens of thousands of years, their ancestors were prey. Even today, the sight of a manticore's mane, or the snap of its tail, awakens a primal terror even the hardened Aspartian cannot shake. Cultures across Aethium have long recognized this. For the Castari and the Astrians, slaying a manticore is no mere feat of arms. It is a rite of passage. Aspirant Aspartians proved themselves by facing the beast head-on, knowing many will not return. Yet, no matter how many are slain, the Chimerans endure. Their numbers never falter. Their roles as predators remain secure. To the scholar, they are a triumph of evolution. Apex hunters with venom, tuned to exploit the weaknesses of their prey. To the soldier, they are a menace that cannot be ignored. And to the common villager or trader, they are a nightmare given flesh. The reason torches are kept burning at night, and the roads are lined with charms made of claw and tooth.
There is only one word for them. Deadly.
Wrote General Galba Kalgas.
For they are many, and there will always be many. No matter how often we cull them, there will always be another that will take their place. Thus, we hunt them, to protect not just ourselves, but others that will come after us.
And thus, we enter the end of the lesson, my friends. The Far-Seekers have learned much about the Parthines of this world, so as to best handle them in the future, and ensure that people and monster alike can cohabitate in the same lands. Especially now, with the introduction of dwarves, orcs, Shoten, and lizardfolk, one can only hope that the future is a bright one, despite the war currently going on. On a different note, I should hear back from that ragtag group of mercenaries who are aiding us in cleansing our lands of the undead menace after the siege. They may be candidates for joining our Fire-Seeker ranks. Until next time, this is Chapter Master Gavilia Ironfist, and I will see you all again soon. Until then, have a good day. And that is the end of the video. I do apologize for the delay in uploads and everything that came in between. I had actually recorded the audio for this video at least a month or so prior to moving, right? But that was when my computer decided to crap itself.
And the fool I was did not think to have a backup of said recording. So I had everything done. I had the recording for the video done. I had the scripting done. I had the voice work done. But as soon as my computer decided to crap itself by frying the motherboard, I was unable to get that data back because the people that I had sent my computer for warranty that I purchased from, let's call them Worst Buy, they did not save any of the data or recording that I had asked them to do. So I said pictures, I said game data, I said the voice recording, anything, video, audio, all of it. And they did not bother to save it. And that was such a kick to the nuts that I was left kind of depressed. And I was also in the middle of moving to my new current dwelling. So I just delayed and delayed and delayed recording the audio because I'm sitting here like, damn, I put all this effort, I had everything ready, and now it's all gone. So it was a bit depressing. But at some point, I did think summer's going to hit, and I do have to put out the video because if I don't, I will not be fulfilling that promise that I made. So for that, I owe you all a deep apology. Now, here are some new developments in terms of content. I do plan on doing a breakdown of a particular individual species. It is I debated on whether or not it's going to be the Boreodon or it's going to be the Tarrasque. We will see. It depends on how things work out, because as you know, summer is when things start to pick up at my real life job. So it's going to be a little difficult to do artwork for it. I am open to any assistance people can provide. So there's that, but I did recently do a re-edit, so basically the final, hopefully final cut of Shard of Woe, and it is the cleanest it has ever been, because the first few editions of the book had some punctuation and other issues in it, because again, I couldn't afford an editor, but I did manage to clean everything up. And so now it should be a much easier read. It's very concise. It doesn't ruin the prose at all. So thankfully I was able to get that done. As for other things, I'm going to get back to streaming soon, and I will get back to making more artwork soon. It's just real life has been really, really, really piling on a lot of things that keep making the YouTube channel not the top priority, but I always have you guys in mind, so that's why I put out the video, and I hopefully you have reached it to the end here. So as for future content, pay attention to the posts. That'll give you an indication of what the next video is going to be about. I'm active on X. I'm also active on YouTube, so leave a comment. Subscribe, of course, and just pay attention to the posts. I'm usually there. I'm also in Unnatural History Channel's Discord, just there and drifting and maybe just floating some ideas in terms of character creation and some other stuff there every once in a while. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of news and stuff about the video. Again, I do very deeply apologize from the bottom of my heart. I really am sorry that it has taken so long for this video to come out. I was actually hoping it was going to come out earlier this year, but so much bullshit had come around last minute. So I'm not going to waffle anymore. I've done enough prostrating before the masses. So I'm going to immediately get started on editing, and hopefully you guys will like the video and the content within it. So see you all next time.